What's up everyone, it's Dark Viper, and today we're building one of the most amazing yet somehow also the most dumb islands in all of Skyblock. That's right, somehow an island can be amazing and dumb at the same time, and we built it. You might ask me, Dark, why did you make this atrocity? And my answer is I wanted to do something cool. I actually wanted to make a community build, and I also wanted to see what kind of challenges we'd face the more people we brought into that community build. On top of that, I wanted to use one of the most easy build design specs that you could possibly describe to someone without it being an empty, like, flat plane. And well, how about a 46,000 block island made of stone? I mean, how hard could it be to make a giant cube? You get the width, you get the height, the depth, and you're good to go, right? And on top of that, you're using one of the most basic materials around being stone. The first challenge of this entire project is just making sure everyone's listening to one person, because if you have everyone kind of running around with their head chopped off and no one giving directions and you just kind of expect them to get what you're trying to go for, you're in for a big surprise and a big mess. And so you really need to either delegate authority or project management or do it yourself. In my case, I was stuck on a tower, so a lot of times I would just say, hey Corn, for example, can you go, like, everyone just kind of follow his, his direction for a bit. And that worked pretty well in this case. That's how we got the outline for the island. Second challenge is attitudes and character clashes. When you have a bunch of goofballs, and granted we all love hanging out with these goofballs, they're our favorite people to hang out with. When there's work to be done, sometimes it's really hard because you get other people that are getting a little frustrated because you see them standing around or creating messes or being goofy and not actually getting stuff done. And in this case, we saw that happen a lot with multiple players. They were just, kind of doing stuff, but they weren't really contributing to the work. And a lot of that comes down to just making sure they know what they need to do, because if they don't know what they need to do, they're just gonna goof off. So, and then you got the people that are like, hey, why aren't you doing anything? And then they start getting yelled at, and that's when the tension starts building and arguments start arising, especially in a community build like this one. Eventually people kind of cooled, it got easier and people were a little bit more lighthearted, especially once the work started happening. It got a little bit cleaner, but you still get those little hiccups every now and then that would, make someone get upset, especially if someone's like AFK right where you're trying to build and they go AFK and you can't build anything because they're AFK right in that spot, or, someone's taking something, or someone's, trying to just build things wrong. Third, you have to supply the materials. In this build, we use stone, assuming everyone would have it and at least enough to bring. But instead, what we found is most people didn't even have any stone. They didn't come with any of it. And there were only a couple people that really had a ton of stone. And so they were having to basically dish out everything that they had, and then they started running out because they didn't have enough for everyone in themselves. So this is really, it comes down to the project manager. In this case, it would have been my responsibility because it was my idea. I should have brought a bunch of stone for this. And you really need to come prepared for all the materials before you do a community build. Otherwise, you're going to have all kinds of random stuff going on. People are going to be using different types of blocks because they ran out of the part that you wanted them to do, or maybe you want a particular wood color, but people are starting to use maple instead of, birch or whatever it is. So you need to make sure there's chests full of the materials that they need. And you just need to also police it, because you don't want to have, which comes into my fourth one, is theft. If you don't trust everyone that's coming in, then you're going to have a lot of theft. So what you want to probably do is have at least someone that's in charge of supplies. And in this case, we didn't really do that. But what you can imagine is there's someone that's in charge of supplies. And I think that should be the server owner, because they can immediately kick someone if they start seeing theft. And so basically the server owner should be in charge of all those items. That should be all in their inventory. And then they give out, they plop down a chest, they give out whatever they need for those people. They all grab their stuff and then they go to work. And that's probably the best way to control theft. Obviously once materials are in the world, things get stolen. And in our case, we had someone drop a gold block as a marker and someone took it. And unfortunately, that person never gave it back. Whoever took it didn't give it back, even though a gold block is pretty, affordable. Like, I could have given them probably 20 blocks if they wanted. So, or I could have given them 100 of them. It doesn't really matter to me. But they decided to just go and take someone's gold block, which was a big bummer. Fifth, you have block limits with islands. So all of our builders should not be on their main accounts. In this case, we had a bunch of builders who were on their main accounts, and so that restricted it so that a lot of other builders can come in with their main accounts. And so we ended up with only like 5 or 6 people, which is bad, right? But if you are providing all the supplies, you give them all the tools, you give them all the supplies, then they they don't have to bring anything with them. You could have filled the server with alt accounts and never had anyone having issues getting into the server, whereas we were having all kinds of things. And it's distracting when you're having to, like, you got someone that's complaining that they can't get in the server, and you're trying to build stuff and they're complaining that they can't get in, and you're trying to build stuff and you're telling them, okay, you know, what can I do? And then they're telling people to leave, and it gets really messy. So the best thing to do is just make sure you have you have extra tools for them, you have all the supplies for them, so they do not need a single thing on their account when they're coming to build. 6 is making sure the host island stays alive. When I mean by that, not like living, I'm saying, well, that too, obviously, but I mean like not timing out, not disconnect. You gotta 1, communicate, and 2, make sure if you're on an alt building on a different island. So like in my case, I actually helped build a lot of this on my alt. I kind of messed up. I forgot to have an auto clicker active. I turned it off for a moment and forgot to put it back on while I was recording the time lapse. Guess what happened? Everyone got kicked because my server went idle, and you don't see this in the video, but my character went idle and got disconnected, and it was just a big pain, you know, trying to get back in, got to get everyone back in, and then, you know, now because I have more blocks on my island, they couldn't load. It was all kinds of, it's just messy. So make sure you're running an auto clicker to stay alive. So beyond this, community builds can be incredibly rewarding and a ton of fun. So after this island, now that we understand some of the challenges and we've learned from some of these mistakes, I can't wait to show you what's in store next. So this massive stone cube of a beast actually looks a lot like just a regular stone block, just kind of up close, doesn't it? I'll try sometime to server hop on Public so you can check it out, and I'll invite you to it. It's called the Skyblocks Cube. I've linked the profile if you want to check it out and follow it. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our community builders, and including Gun0009, we got Cornflex, we got QueenElsaPony, ThatMoralesGaming, KaiCaesar, DerhanTheHunter, Catermelon, Legendary Forest, and all of the others who stopped by, even if it's for a brief moment, to help build this giant cube. So feel free to jump into my Discord, which is linked in the description, for opportunities to help with future videos like this one and build projects. And you can also, on that same server, we've got a bunch of people that are trading with other players on Skyblocks. We also have builders for hire, so you can go into our builders for hire channel. You can go in there and hire some builders, or even demolition. They actually prefer demolition projects. So if you want to have something destroyed in your island, All you got to do is pay them for whatever, you know, how many bricks that they're going to break, or you can negotiate. Like maybe you don't really care about the money. Maybe you'll give them a smelter after they're done. Some of them might want to, like, you know, negotiate prior. So be careful not to get scammed. Definitely check that out. And also, before I end, I want to let everyone know, if you have a food processor, we are looking to showcase one and buy one. So drop your Roblox username in the comments if you have one. We're definitely looking to buy one. You know, I know they're expensive. We know they're hundreds of millions in coins, so we'll figure that out. But we'll also be happy to showcase you in that next video if you're the one that comes forward with a food processor. We'd love to show it off. If you want to continue seeing more community projects like this one, hit that like button and smash that subscribe button if you're new. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.